Okay, welcome to the good people of Iceland.
Thank you.
Tonight is here with me my good friend Danni. Danni.
Yeah. Hello.
På íslensk.
På íslensk.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
How are you
Nice
doing?
to be here.
Nice to be here.
Exciting.
Exciting. Okay, I'm gonna be a movie star.
Oh, okay. Well, some people think I am
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Okay.
You know Jason Statham
Mm-hmm.
and Woody Harrelson?
Yeah.
They
told
look
you
like
this.
me.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a famous lookalike.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice for them.
But they don't know about it.
Maybe you should send them your picture and tell them about this.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Just so they're informed and stuff. Okay. Nice. Yeah. You live in Kópavogur, which
Yes.
is a small suburb in Reykjavik.
Yeah, the best one.
The best one. I live there too. Recently.
Yeah.
And you grew up there.
Yeah. I was born in Reykjavik, but when my mother came from the hospital, she moved into my grandparents' house, and I grew up there.
Okay.
For
the same
the
neighborhood you're living in now? Or?
like maybe 500 meters away.
Okay.
It's just over your place, you know,
Okay.
on the hill,
Okay.
on the top of the hill. So it's close.
It's
but I went to school in the same neighborhood I live in when I was like in 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about this some because the situation with kids back then when we were growing up and with kids now growing up are like two different worlds somehow.
Definitely.
Because I remember when I was going to school, it was all about not complying to the rules and doing everything as much wrong as you could.
Yeah, well, at least some group.
My group.
Yeah, mine too. But it was not the same group.
No. I think all schools have these groups.
Yeah. But I have a 14-year-old stepdaughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the same school I used to be in, and she's in the 9th grade now. And there used to be like 3 guys last year that were making trouble.
Okay.
And now they're away. So everything is very still in her grade, you know.
How many were, like, you probably belong to a group like that.
Yeah.
How big of a part of the whole year?
It was like almost 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but many of them were just visitors, you know. Did very good in school and stayed in sports and there was like we were maybe in my school. In my year, we were maybe 10 that didn't really want to be in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's the same amount probably in Mosfellsbær where I grew up. We were around, I think, 10 core guys that just didn't belong in school somehow.
But then again, it was like there are a lot of schools in Kópavogur, and there was these 10 from this school and 10 from the other school, and we all met together. There were many groups like this all over Kópavogur.
Okay.
And there were like neighborhood fights and stuff.
Yeah, that was different in Mosfellsbær somehow because we only had the one school, so it was just like a one core group. But we used to beat up people that came partying in Mosfellsbær, so it was kind of part of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how was your schooling? How did it go, and how did it work for you back then?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, when I started in school, I was doing okay, you know, but I had some difficulties. I was in another neighborhood before I went to Kópavogur, Breiðholt, even better neighborhood. And I was a kind of a bully. I was bullied by older guys, and I returned the favor to some of the weaker students in my class, and we were few of us doing that.
Yeah.
And I was always very good at home, and I did my homework, but late at night when we were outside, nobody knew what we were doing, and slowly it just faded away. You know, I became a lesser student and more of a bad boy. You know.
And drinking.
Skipping school and drinking and.
How old were you when you started drinking? Do you remember?
I think first time was around 12. It
Ah.
wasn't much, and but the police was involved that night straight away, and it was very exciting. But I wasn't drunk a lot. But it was the first night I had.
It's the same for me. It was 12. I was hung with older boys than me, and it somehow became a regular thing for me.
I think it was New Year's
Okay.
Eve.
It was the same for me.
Okay.
Yeah, the New Year's Eve thing.
But I think it was like 14. I really started to drink more, you know, repeatedly on weekends. And then I was in Kópavogur.
Okay.
And then I was a rebel, you know, rock and roll, heavy metal, and then punk, and you know. And I was put down in class, you know, Icelandic class, you know, grammar, put in special class, and then I got less interested, you know.
Yeah. It was the same for me. We were put in all our group was in. What I don't know what they call it in English. In Icelandic, tossabekkur, or the lesser student group. And I think nobody learned anything in that group.
The more they tried to help us, the worse it got.
I felt guilty about actual teachers trying to help me at that hour because I was an asshole.
Most of the teachers were okay.
Just trying to do their job.
And they tried a lot.
Was it the same in your school like it was for me, that there was no real contact between parents and teachers? Only 2 meetings per year, and that was the only form of...
Yeah, and when you had to go to the principal, and the principal spoke to your parents. It was not much contact, like today. I have a 8-year-old stepdaughter also. She has been having some stomach problems, and we are not sure if she's acting or doesn't want to go to school or whatever. And there is constant communication between teacher and school nurse, and I think my wife just talked to 4 persons today about this.
It's funny how it's changed.
It's changed a lot.
I used to lose sleep like a week before the fucking meeting was supposed to happen. I was like, oh fuck, it's everything. It's gonna come up now. And you were kind of safe for the majority. Then the week before the meeting, it was like, oh god damn it.
I think it was. I don't remember having this feeling. You know.
No.
I skipped school in 9th grade. It's 10th grade today. I just after New Year, I just decided not to go anymore. So I didn't really care, you know. So I don't remember having this feeling about
dreading this thing.
No.
I think this was in 9th grade for me. I had a fight with my teacher, and we got physical. And I kind of dreaded that meeting. But it started out to be good, though. Because after that, though I was being an asshole always and not behaving and doing stuff, at least we were not fighting. So it was better.
Came to a common understanding about things. I moved a lot. I had like 3 schools when I was in Gago. I was in Breiðholt first.
Which is kind of like the poorest neighborhood, so to say, in Reykjavík, with the most kind of problems. Started out that way.
And then I moved to Kópavogur, and then to Westman Islands, and then back in school to Breiðholt.
How was that transaction? Because Westman Island is a tiny place.
Yeah, it was kind of. It was 1 year.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
Okay.
When I came, I was both the most popular kid in school and also a most hated person in the Westman Islands. I was the guy the older guys wanted to pick on, you know.
Okay.
And I think there were 2 classes, and the fight over me was which football team are you going to practice with? You know, they have 2 football teams, and the guys were trying to, do we play football? Come train with us. No, come with us. So I trained sports, football especially when I was younger, and I went to, I think, 2 trainings, and then I met these other guys, or I went to this young people club downtown, no alcohol, you know, kind of deal in the weekend, and around 11 o'clock we should go home, and then the real party begin, where they all did. So we never got home, and kids in Westman Islands, they drank a lot. It was around 14. Mm-hmm. So I started drinking there more, and there was this incident. I was with my classmates at this thing, and older boys were coming, and the smallest one of the older boys, he wanted to beat me up. And then there was 3 guys, they came to rescue me.
Okay.
And they became my friends. And they were kind of the bad boys of this year. Mm-hmm. You know. So we broke a lot in. It was the year before the beer was allowed. So in Westman Island there was a lot of sailors and smugglers, and we found out where they lived, and we broke into their garage and stole all of the beer. And then we went out drinking, and it's a small community, and a car drove by us. We were like 4 guys drinking Heineken, and the whole community knew who stole it. And we had to return part of it in the schoolyard late at night, because the guy, he was smuggling, grown up, and he was dealing with teenagers, meeting them in the schoolyard, and we were bringing back some beer, and nothing was done. We drink like 3 cases of it.
Silent agreement.
Yeah, silent agreement. And don't do this again. And there was, we went through all the companies. You know, these guys, they were 14 when I met them, mm-hmm. and they have been doing it for some time. They broke into this fishing factory, and they just started, the liftari.
Yeah, the loader.
Yeah, the loader. Yeah. We just started it up and put the forks under the big heavy door and just lifted up and out, and then it was open, and we just searched the place, and we always found 2 or 3 bottles of vodka or whatever. So that was the game there.
Yeah. So an interesting year in Westman Islands. Yeah. And then you come back and you move back to Kópavogur, or?
To Breiðholt, but I stayed more with. I had 2 groups. I had in Kópavogur and in Breiðholt. Yeah. So I was moving around a lot.
Yeah. And did smoking stuff, and did that start around there, or?
Yeah, after I came from Westman Islands.
Yeah.
I had my first smoke, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it was the same as the alcohol. It didn't do much for me, but the thing was, there was an older guy, and there was some happening about. I met my friends after 1 year, and they were hanging around these older guys. And the day I smoked my first pipe, there was like 100 grams of hashish stolen
Okay.
And everyone was under suspicion. And that was my first experience.
Yeah, very good experience. Yeah.
And I think the best friend of the other guy, he stole it from him. You know.
Yeah.
It was
classic situation.
yeah.
I remember when that started for me, I was so fucking glad because alcohol fucked me up.
Yeah, the same for me.
I was just at home sick, lying in bed day after drink, and that was just normal. Didn't matter if I drank a lot or little, it was the same result. And when I kind of find cannabis, that solved that problem.
Yeah.
And also the alcohol smell.
I have the same story. It was blackouts and bad days after, and a lot of visiting jail cells.
Yeah.
So, because I think alcohol is from the devil. I couldn't handle it.
No, I couldn't either.
So when I started smoking, it was like a big solution for me and all my friends.
Yeah, yeah, same here. And it's funny because there's a lot of talk everywhere about legalization and that cannabis isn't bad, and I can totally see that, but I can also see it being a huge problem for kids like me and you. Which, because we were not maybe searching for anything special, we just wanted to get away from it all. So it was all about just getting a tool to get away from stuff. And I think kind of the same rule doesn't apply to people that just are doing recreational stuff. So I'm kind of torn on what I think about that.
Yeah, it's difficult, you know. I don't know if it had, because part of the thing when I was, or we were teenagers doing it, it was illegal and it was exciting, and you were kind of a criminal. You were playing, you know, cops, gangsters.
Definitely.
Always hiding, and so I don't know if if it was legal, if it would be that much of a thrill.
Yeah, you know? I totally agree with that too, and I think it should never be a crime. I think personal freedom should always trump these kind of rules. But then what kind of gets in your way, and it probably does for you now, is because your kids are coming to a certain age, and you, like me, I see the same. I see some of the same in my kids that I saw in me, but in a lot better place though. A lot more talked about, a lot more open. I just went into hiding with myself, kind of, and isolated myself from my parents.
Yeah, same for me. But the thing for me was like my mother and my father, they are alcoholics, and they stopped drinking when I was 9.
Okay.
And when the time I went into my first rehab, my mother was already working at the rehab place. So I had all the information all the time, and when she asked me first time, are you high? I just said yes. And then we had a small talk, and she told me about all the dangers, what could happen, and I said okay, I'll think about it, but it didn't have any effect on me, you know.
It's funny to look at that, because I had a really different experience with that, because both of my parents I think they've never seen the stuff even, so they were totally ignorant about all the drug things, and so I got away with it for a long time, and when it came up, it was a huge, serious thing, if you know what I mean, with big consequences and stuff.
I think it was just the first winter, you know, it was just a few months into my smoking period that she noticed, you know, and I just admitted straight away, and it was just killed it, you know.
That's funny, because I sometimes think about this. Does it matter how it's confronted? Does it matter how you work through things? But like when I take a look at your story and my story, we had the same result. It didn't change anything.
No, nothing. And she tried to get me an appointment with this counselor, and 3 or 4 times, and I went there, and and they had, you know, a suggestion. Told me it could be a problem if I wanted to try to stop for 1 week and meet them after 1 week and see if I could. If I couldn't, I was an addict. And I said, yes, I will try this. And I went out the door and I took up my pipe. And
It's funny how that goes somehow, but it leads you places. And I remember being at that age, I thought it wouldn't affect me in a negative way. I thought it was just helping me just be more me somehow. And when did it become like when you felt it was a problem?
Well, in my drinking, it was straight away a problem. So this was a solution, but there was this, because you're a criminal, you're smoking, and the police, they notice these groups, and every time they see you, they stop you. And because I lived in Breiðholt, I was partying in Kópavogur. The police, they knew us and they came around. There were 3 of us guys who lived in Breiðholt. And they came around 11 o'clock and they offered us a ride home. So it was, you couldn't be seen anywhere, you know. If the police drove by, I had 2 girlfriends who was sitting with them someplace outside, and we were arrested, brought to the station, and their parents were noticed, you know, don't let her stay with him. Be with this guy, he's trouble, you know. So this, because it's criminalized, you know, that was the most trouble, you know.
I think,
and because of all this, they catch you with a small thing, and you get a fine. And when I was 16, I was arrested, and they didn't let me out the day after. I would go into custody, you know. I had to pay for all the fines. And it was about, should be 2 weeks, you know.
You had to sit off the fine?
Yeah.
Pay up or sit 2 weeks?
Yeah, but that wasn't, it was a shock, you know. I'm not going anywhere, you know, I have to be here. And I called my mother and asked if she could buy me a pack of cigarettes, because I had to stay here. That was my most concern. I didn't have Coca-Cola and cigarettes. I was ready to stay there, you know, because I didn't have the money. There was no choice. But she made a deal, you know, if you go to rehab, I will buy you cigarettes, and you can have a Coca-Cola. And I had to think about it a little bit for a few hours. And then I said yes. So that was my first encounter with rehab. And in that rehab, I realized a little bit. It was, my life wasn't going anywhere. It was just going to be like this. You know, I had a little bit awakening. And I went to a full rehab program and stayed sober for like, clean for like 3 months after that.
How old were you then? You were 16 or 17?
16, around 16, 17, I don't remember quite.
Funny, that's the same I was 17 when I went in my first rehab.
But there was really nothing happening in my life. You know?
No, and I came to the same realization that this was maybe not the smartest move, and I didn't want to spend my life there. Just because, like probably you saw a lot of characters that were older, with missing teeth, looking like shit, going nowhere, and
very uncomfortable people. You know. But you were hanging around, you know, in these circles a little bit. You had to be there, you know, around it.
I remember. This is funny because I remember one time I was going to get my hash, and I went to this place in Kópavogur down by the docks, and there was this character there who's passed away now, and he was the dealer, a small-time dealer, and in his couch there was a guy coughing his fucking lungs out, and And I remember this, and I was like, oh, yeah, because I had always gotten my stuff with my friends in Mosfellsbær and hadn't had to go to a place like this before. And I was, I think, 16, 17, somewhere around that. And he wakes up and he's still coughing. I thought the guy was fucking dying. And then he draw the bucket up like a 2-liter bottle with the thing on top and smoked and coughed like 10 times more. And his eyes, he had a glass eye, didn't know it that time, falls on the floor and rolls over. And the guy that was stealing, he takes it up and points it at me. And I have my eye on you. And they laughed hysterically and he coughing like death. And this still didn't wake me up to the realization that I didn't want to be there. It's funny how you choose what you see and what you take in and what you don't.
I have a similar experience when I was starting. You know, this guy I was talking about, he was a little bit older and he got stolen from him 100 grams, and we started hanging more around him, and he was in kind of a trouble everywhere, you know. And one time we went to the mall and we stole a, you know, CD Walkman. You know, it was very expensive then, and we had to sell it. We want to get some hashish for it, and we drove to Hverfisgata, and there was a famous drug house there, and some crazy addicts living there. And the guy was telling, I cannot go in there. Who wants to go in there? Danny, can you do it? He said, maybe. I have never done this before. Try to sell something for drugs. You just tell him that Jón sent you, and he told you that. But don't say my name. Don't say my. And I had to, and they had cameras and everything, and a steel door, and he told me, maybe the police is here, and they will either take you on the way in or the way out. So that was, and you should just go there and ask them to buy this. And I went there and I knocked, and they let me in, and I told them this guy, he sent me and told me they would buy it for me, and they were like heavy duty junkies, and there was some kid here with this stuff, and I heard the voice, yeah, just take this stuff and beat him and kick him out. And then some guy, oh, no, let's not do that. It's just a kid. And I was just standing there in the hallway. And he came with some grams, and I went away hoping for the police not to take me. And everyone was cheering in the car when I came out. Did they give it to you? Yeah, okay. And the guy who sent me in, he really didn't expect anything. You know? He was very surprised. But that was, you know, and it was kind of a excitement, you know, that I got a kick out of. You know? And that has been like, the high was not enough. You know, just in the beginning it was the fear factor, you know. In everything, it's just and it has been the whole way.
Yeah.
It's but it's funny when I can feel the excitement when I speak about it. You know, it gets to my head. It's funny. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. And
but it's sad also.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's a funny state that. You're not just in peace being. It's something missing from that situation. And then you get out of rehab and you get about 3 months, and I remember my first time it kind of changed everything. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, it was, it changed a lot. I had my driver license, I went to meetings, I got to know a lot of people. I lived with my parents. They told me I would have to work or go to school, and I did, got me a job, but I still didn't connect to there was few young people in AA then in Reykjavik, but they were starting this young people in SAA, this rehab company, and there was nothing to do really. It's just go to meetings, hang on coffee shops, and nothing more. Just go home, go to meeting, stay downtown, spend all your money on coffee, and then go home. There wasn't much to do.
No.
So I started, contacting my friends again. I could drive, I was sober, I was around in the party, and just in one party I just decided to have a beer. It was very easy.
Yeah, I had the exact same story. I think I got around 5 months or something, and after like 2 months of driving my old friends around, I just came to the decision, why am I trying this? It's not worth it.
Yeah, you were bored, you know, and lonely. And
definitely, definitely. And because I remember the first time after my first rehab, I felt so bummed out because I went and had a smoke with my friend, and it was supposed to be like this release thing. But all I got was kind of paranoia. Oh fuck! Now I'm gonna get busted again. This whole thing's gonna get ugly again, and kind of took away some of the innocence that was in it before.
I remember feeling bad about this. Holding the beer and just fuck it. What am I doing? Okay, let's go. It was not a very happy feeling in the start. It was like doing it against what you know better.
That's the trouble, knowing better. And did that change? Like I remember for me, it changed kind of everything.
Yeah, it did.
It was around that time that I decided I had to go into selling drugs just to finance my own using, and kind of everything kind of changed.
I think it was first, I had a fight with my parents, it skipped work, and they told me, you move or you continue getting some other job. And I moved. The first time I rented a room with my friend, and it was downtown, and there were all of these characters coming around, Skari Skaki, Lalli Jones, and this other guy, and
kind of like Reykjavik's hobos at that time.
Yeah, and we were just robbed out of everything we had, all our belongings, because these people were just coming and going, and we had we let them come and go, and because they always had some stuff, and but then my friend, he moved out. And and we both moved out of this room we were renting, and there was a lot of other people there. Just okay, I'm gone. But the thing is, my mother decided to move to Norway.
Okay.
When I'm there, it's about 17 years. Recently been, and I was, counterfeiting the checks. And I was using my own driver's license, for signature.
On the back.
Yeah. So I wasn't faking, signatures. I was just using,
your own identity.
Yeah, I was just buying cigarettes with stolen checks and using my own driver's license to use them. And the thing is, the police called me, the detectives, and they asked me about this, if I've been doing this, and wanted to take me down to the station, was calling me in. But, they first called my mother, and my mother called me, and I called them. Okay. And I was furious, put up an act. Somebody stole my driver's license and was doing this, and now they were harassing my mother, and I got away with it. Okay. But I went and cut my driver's license, threw it in the trash, got rid of the evidence, and there was the end of that. I never heard more about it. But my mother moved. It was a kind of a. She hoped if I would come to Norway with her I would get out of this mess.
Yeah, we get a fresh start.
Yeah, get a fresh start in Norway. She was going to university there, and my 4-year-old brother was coming with, and she wanted me to come, and I went. I had no other place to go, stay in Iceland, you know. And it wasn't what she thought it would be, you know, because we started in Copenhagen and then in Odensway. Her sister was living there, and I just fixed up a bike in the bike storage where my niece lived, and went downtown. I had been in Denmark before, both with the school and this town, so I knew approximately where things were, and I also have been in Copenhagen before. And I found some old people that sold me a few grams of hash, and I smoked all the trip, you know, to Norway. And I had a little bit left when we came to Norway, and I was just trying to train it, you know.
Make it last?
Yeah, make it last. And when it didn't last anymore, I went downtown in Bergen, Norway. And I found this guy downtown. He sold me something, but no, he didn't sell me. It was a black dude, and he was going to sell me something, but he wanted me to take a bus with him and another bus to the, you know, some suburb, and I didn't know where it was. I've never been there before, even downtown, you know. And I didn't want to go with him. And I asked him, is there any possibility to get it somewhere else? And he pointed me out to this park, but he told me, don't go there. It's not a smart move. If you go there and the police comes, they always come, and they will take your name down, and then you're registered. But I went anyway, and it happened what he told me. And I started to go there regularly just to pick up some stuff and then go home. And then I started getting to know some of the guys. And there was, on the first summer, it was the first time I had morphine in my veins.
Okay.
Because that was the thing they were doing, and I got friends with them. So
that started a whole new ride.
Yeah, totally different. And it ended in prison.
Yeah.
2 years later.
Okay. Just for all kinds of small stuff, just like that ride goes somehow.
Yeah, just I had to do a lot of stuff, you know, and most of all this stuff was when I was drunk.
Yeah.
Because I get stupid when I'm drunk, and the police pick me up. And so I had, like, in the end, just before I was 19, it was just before Christmas, and there had been a lot of things going down, and I had decided to go to Iceland over the Christmas and go to rehab.
Okay.
That was already decided, you know.
Okay.
I was going with my mother to Iceland, and I was going into rehab. And it was in, I think, November, when I was arrested.
Okay.
Finally, you know, and they didn't let me out. And I got custody for 3 weeks, and the judge, he let me go to Iceland, but they didn't want to let me go until the day before the flight was.
Okay.
And so I got to know the insides of the prison I should be in for 1 year.
Okay.
But he let me go and take this rehab thing, and told me, if you come back, you will meet me again, and we will go over things.
Okay.
How it's playing, and then we decide if you will get the whole year or lesser time. But he told me also, if you don't come back, then you don't have to worry about anything.
So he basically just wanted to get rid of you.
Yeah. But it kept me until the plane went.
And how was that experience? 3 weeks in a Norwegian jail?
Well, it was
Different than in Iceland?
yeah, a lot different.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was more humane.
In
More humane. You
in
know,
Norway?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because well, I had only been in Síðumúli fangilsi. It was disgusting, you know, and Hverfisgata, just overnight, but in Síðumúli for 2 times for a few days, and
That's just like a storage unit, kind of.
yeah,
Kind of.
yeah. But it was, you know, first time I went into a cell with toilet inside it, you know, and there was bars, not steel door, you know, and the prison guards, they gave me cigarettes, you know. They were kind of nice.
Okay.
But I should have, one time I was arrested, the police was searching me downtown in the station, and I kicked a prison guard's head while he was searching me.
Okay.
So that should be 6 months of the sentence I was getting, harassing a prison guard.
Okay.
So, but they were okay, you know, they didn't treat me bad or nothing, you know. So, but I went to this big prison. It was yeah, a really, really big prison, and I got into it was just like an apartment, you know. It was 7 rooms. The lock was in 8 o'clock in the evening, and it was a living room and a kitchen, and we were 7 guys there. There was a big TV and a sofa, and I somehow, when I was arrested in all this, that night I was arrested, I had like 7 grams of hashish on me, and I managed to take it all the way to the prison. So it was not a hard, you know, landing for me.
Okay.
I had been using amphetamines and morphine and for a few weeks heroin, so and pills a lot, and so it was because I had these grams, and some of the guys they knew, so I got some friends also, so it was okay the first 2 weeks, and I was definite that I was not going to sit this 1 year. But the prison guards, they was always trying to get me to piss, take a piss test and go to work, and I always denied because I didn't want them to know I had this stuff.
Was it a possibility to deny?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I denied, and they always threatened that I would go into isolation.
Okay.
That was the same situation. It was apartment, but you would stay inside your cell.
Okay.
And if you were nice, and then you could go outside in the lunchtime and the coffee time and make coffee and some bread for the other guys who were locked inside. So you had a little bit more time outside the cell. But I knew I was going home, you know. I always told them I'm not going to work here, you know, I'm not going to stay here. But they didn't believe it. But the last week was hardest week, because then I kind of realized where I stayed, and the stuff was finished, and it was getting harder, you know. And I was really, really relieved that I wasn't going to stay there.
So you get back to Iceland.
Yeah.
And you got out of that
Yeah.
situation, kind of, just by not going back.
That was my second rehab.
Okay.
I came, it was in December or something, to Iceland, but I didn't go straight away. I waited over Christmas, and that was my second rehab. So.
And was the thinking different on your part?
Yeah.
Going in?
Yeah. It was the first time I called. It was my second rehab, but I called myself to.
So you were
rehab.
going on your own means. You were not
yeah.
going for somebody else. You were going for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I realized it was I had been in a real danger in Norway. It was there was guys dying, you know, junkies, and I was one of them. So I thought I was really lucky, you know,
to get out of that.
Yeah.
And did you get some time after that rehab, or how did that go?
2 years and 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good time.
Yeah, I went to school and it was a little bit different. There were more people, young people, you know. It was more of a community, you know. And but I wasn't doing any program, so I was a little bit crazy. And
maybe not totally honest.
No, definitely not honest. But trying, you know, there was different kind of programs.
It was you know, like the fellowship kind of thing was different back then. Also, it was not so program
based.
No. It was just more of coming and talking and
hanging out and
doing different things.
But I went to this Iðnskóli and
which is kind of like a trade school.
Yeah, trade school, and I learned carpenting. Started on that, didn't finish because I was involved in the what do you say, social life.
Yeah, the committee kind of thing.
With two of my friends that I met in rehab.
Yeah.
And we had like this power over money for the social life in school, and had you know, free pass for being in class, you know.
Okay.
So I never went to class after we got this position. And it ended like we were told that we could not apply for this school next semester.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now,
it's funny because I went to that school, I think the same year, your last year there. I went to that school and there was like no social life because the school had no money for some reason.
Some odd reason. But I think we used the money. We had a big parties, you know.
Okay.
Had some. We were involved with Kitty Kanina. He was always coming in with bands, and we had some big fun parties.
Okay.
That was not common in this school.
No, it was. And it was then and is still known for not very good social life.
And we decided not to give the acting, you know, this
acting department.
Acting department, they should have nothing because they always got everything. we stirred things up.
Yeah.
But it's just typical, you know, clean time without a program. You just are, what do you say, out of control.
Not dealing with your problems, just finding new ways to get kicks.
Kicks and excitement and not taking responsibility.
Okay. And when that stint, what happened? What made you go back, kind of?
I got depressed.
Yeah.
Over a girl.
Okay.
So I was like the last 10 months in my clean time there, I was just depressed, you know. So it was a relief when I started smoking because I realized drinking was not for me, and I just wanted to have a relief, and I had to smoke.
Yeah.
And I didn't drink for like 10 months into that period, you know, when I started again, because I was not drinking, but I used a lot of everything else. And I was really happy about it, you know.
Because you were.
There was a principle, you know, I had, but soon as when I start drinking again, it just went crazy again.
Yeah. And did you went straight back to using like syringes and stuff?
No.
It's just the smoking and using.
Yeah, ecstasies and acid and amphetamines. And
which was big in this time in Iceland.
But in the is always a time I'm holding myself, you know, but
trying to stay in control.
Yeah, stay in control, and then I slept a little bit over a weekend or a week, just, and it was like a lot of hiding from my fellows, my friends I was using with, because they were not using syringes, so it was like it was like living a double life inside a double life. So it was, but the thing was to get out of this again, this period. It was like 1 year constant using for every day, and dealing, and I went to Norway again.
Okay.
To get away from it. So 3 years and 10 months later, or somehow, I went back to Norway. And I stayed like clean for...
And why did you go back to Norway? Was it just getting away?
Yeah, I was just tired. I was just finished, you know. And my mother, she bought a car in Iceland, and he asked me if I could drive it to Seyðisfjörður and take the boat to Norway. Just delivering a car and some stuff she had. So I drove with on Daihatsu Charade, full of my mother's belonging. And I was, before I took this trip, I didn't have a sleep for like a week, so it, so it was like the last part. Yeah. And I stayed with my mother for like 7 months in Norway.
She was living in Norway?
Yeah, still. And I got a job at the post office, and I was clean. I tried to manage to get 1 Pilsner and 1 beer every day, just to,
take the edge off a little?
Yeah, a little bit. But then I think it was 1 month in Norway I went back to the park to look for some smoke. And there I met an old friend, and it slowly started again,
Yeah. So back to the same situation 3 years later.
Yeah.
And you still had this sentence thing over your head? Okay.
And me and my friend, we were busted inside of an apartment we didn't belong to. And
so you were living in an apartment that you didn't have?
No, we didn't live there. We were just breaking in.
Okay.
And we were busted, and the day after, the policeman who interviewed me, he had got the old file.
Okay.
And I was supposed to come back, and they let us go, both of us, because this friend of mine, he was on parole.
Okay.
And he was amazed why he was let go, because it was Mother's Day. He was let go, and he should come every day to the police station until he would put back in prison.
Okay.
So, but I was also, they let me also go, but and they were gonna find me and talk to me again, and I decided to move to Denmark at that time. Yeah. And in the meanwhile, I was planning to go to Denmark, get some flight ticket. I went with this guy's girlfriend that I was with, and I had my first overdose.
Okay.
Just a few days before I went to
Denmark.
Denmark.
Heroin then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heroin. And I was saved by bums who lived in this apartment.
So they called an ambulance?
No, they just did their usual thing.
Yeah, they knew what to do.
Yeah, I knew what to do. I woke up naked in a shower, somebody slapping me and holding me up, and no ambulance and no nothing. That was a little bit of a bummer, waking up.
But that's funny.
Yeah, but I had this moment of I kind of had this moment. I should just leave and never do this again. And And I thought about my mother and my brother, you know. You know, sometimes when you have been an addict for a long time and you are full of yourself and you think about, you know, ending the life and, you know, just wanted to end. When I woke up after this experience, I realized I didn't want to die, you know.
Okay.
There was a lot to live for, you know. I didn't want to die, you know. That was a very strong feeling for me. But when I moved to Denmark for like 8 or 10 months, and I stayed off, you know, syringes and.
Yeah,
but
it's strong stuff.
Yeah, the strong stuff, like that. But morphine and heroin, and I partied around Copenhagen and Denmark for some time, and then I came back home for another rehab.
Yeah. That's how it is.
I was just finished, you know.
Yeah.
I was trying to working in Copenhagen.
What were you doing there?
Carpeting.
Carpeting?
Renewing houses. And when the guy I was working for, he was sober, one of my friends from the school, you know. Or both of them that were working there. I was working for both of them. And he took a summer vacation, and I was to have control over this roof thing.
Okay.
And we didn't work 1 hour after he left. So, and just before he came back, I went to Iceland, you know, to not face the consequences of not doing the job, and so, yeah. So
that there begins the third rehab.
Yeah. And I am, what am I, 25 or 6, you know, third rehab, and it was like, it was not, it took me 1 year to relapse again.
Yeah.
I went to Akureyri, to this halfway house, because I figured out if I would go there, I don't know anybody there. I forced myself to be clean, you know, for 6 months more. I was like 4 months in rehab, and it's just the same thing. No program in Reykjavik, and I got bored.
Yeah. This was
met an old friend. And
yeah. This is a repeat of the same situation, kind of. Yeah, I relate to that. Just having many tries and. Did it change? Did something change, or was it just the same situation again?
Yeah, it changed a little bit, you know. It was less, you know. I tried to control everything again, you know. And but the circle is like, it's about 2 years using, then I cannot do it anymore, and I do something for a small period of time or longer. And 2000, I stopped myself, you know. Or it was a year I tried to stop a lot.
Okay.
One of my best friend, he had to go to rehab, and he was clean. And I was in this place where I wasn't working, I was just on welfare, and I didn't manage to deal or nothing. I was would just stay in my room and spend all my money I have, and when I finished the money, I would go to meetings, you know, try to stay clean. It took maybe 3 days or a week or 3 weeks. It was this 1 year went through this process.
That's a tough place. I've been to that place.
But it was like a very careless thing. I went to a meeting with this friend of mine, and it was Friday, and everybody decided to go to a coffee house afterwards, and everybody was drinking coffee, and I knew this guy on the next table. He was drinking beer, and I just went over there.
Yeah.
Had a beer, you know. It was like, I really didn't, you know, I never made a real decision that I was just trying to use less or something. I don't know. It was difficult. But then in 2001, 2nd of January, I just woke up and I couldn't do it anymore. And I went to meetings. I got a sponsor for first time, and I got like 4 years.
Okay, then in the fellowship, this program thing was getting big, and everybody was doing steps and stuff.
Yeah, I did the steps, and I was in. Just went straight to work. Not this. I'm gonna just relax for 6 months and have it and try to, recover a little bit. I just got me a job straight away. Got this sponsor, this service in a meeting, and for the first time I went, this meeting I had service in. We were like friends with, meetings on Selfoss, so we would drive on weekends to support another group, and it was like first time I went into some kind of service.
Okay, and felt maybe kind of the first time some kind of recovery.
Yeah, and like I belonged to some group of people,
And you felt good and stuff was kind of happening. Yeah.
But I wasn't totally honest.
Yeah.
I was moving things around, behind everyone's back,
Okay.
trying to pay some debts here and there, and helping my friends,
So you didn't go in full-hearted, so to say.
No. I stopped in the 12th step. I tried to help 1 or 2 guys, but I figured out it was not for me.
I've done enough
here. It was the first experience with sponsoring a guy. It was really hard. He was schizophrenic, and it was really hard. And that was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this.
This is not for me.
It's not for me. Yes.
Yeah. But you got a couple of three years and something out of that stay though.
Yeah.
And
it was experience, and I think all of these times I get 2 years, 8 months, 3 years, 11 months or something. When I went last time in rehab, it was August 2008. It was like I was feeling really hopeless, and wasn't really sure if it would make any sense to go to rehab and do this whole thing again. And
one more time.
Why?
It's not working.
How long is gonna be now? Will I get 5 years now? Or am I just wasting time or whatever? But everything fell like in place. I went to this. I was not going to take a full circle on rehab. I went into rehab, to Vogur. I was going to take 10 days.
Okay.
And they were not going to let me. They just said, no, you're not going into any day program after 10 days here. Either you just stay here for 10 days and go back out, or you take a full program.
Okay.
And I went to my 4th full program, and to Staðarfell again, and to this Viking group, it's a 1-year program. And the thing is, when I woke up this day to call Vogur, the rehab station, is I just had this epiphany. I just woke up like from a nightmare. I was laying on the sofa in my friend's apartment. I had rented a room downstairs, but he was moved out of his apartment, so to his girlfriend. So I was like staying in his apartment, and it was all dusty, and I was just lying there, probably also dusty, trying to just stay asleep, because I didn't handle it anymore. I was like just using, pills to sleep most of the time. And I woke up and I was like waking up from a nightmare. Shit, I have to do something. And I called, and I felt so good calling, and I got this this appointment, to they said, we will call you in less than 10 days, then you can maybe come in. And from that there was 10 years between, rehabs for me.
Yeah.
10 years since I called them last time,
Okay.
because I got this clean time, just started going to meetings and then using time, and so it was a long period, so they were really happy that I was calling again.
Okay.
Just come.
Yep.
And it was like a really good day. I just got my welfare check, and I had some money, and I went to Bonus and bought some really good food, and went to Svarta Cafe on Laugavegur and had some soup and drink some beers and made an appointment with my dealer to pick up some stuff after I was coming from a meeting. I decided to have this practice day, clean time practice day. It was, and I also went to the swimming hall, Laugardags, the swimming hall in
Downtown?
Downtown,
Yeah.
Sundhöllin, yes. And I had this sundfundur, or it was like a saying in in the old days.
Go to a swimming pool, go to a meeting, go for a walk.
And go sober to sleep. It was like, I had this day,
Okay.
But I was not sober. And I went to this meeting, and I was kind of getting hungover, from the drinking, and I was just like, and I didn't hear anything. But there was this guy I knew from before, both from using and later. He noticed me, and it's a funny thing, we were outside the Yellow House after the meeting, and I didn't go straight away. I was just like staying there, having a cigarette, hanging around, and he approached me, and he knew what was going on, and I was like, and he just asked me, how are you doing? I said, not so good, I just called the rehab center, and I'm not sober now, and he just started talking, not like
not
preaching, and he was just, what have you been doing the last years, and who with, and it was like talking to me on my normal basis, and he told me, can I have your phone number? It's unusual. Usually they give you their phone number, and he asked for mine. I thought it was really strange, really strange. And I was like, yeah, gave him my phone number, and then he said, yeah, maybe you want to take mine also. And I was like, on my phone, yeah, and I was not going to save it, and I'm not gonna do this. I thought, he's fishing, but I pushed save. I was like doing it against my own will. I was not gonna do it, but I did it, and I think that is one of the reasons I am still sober today, or clean today, because like 3 or 4 weeks into the rehab thing, I was kind of realizing, I was thinking, yes, maybe I can do this. I have done it before for almost 3 years and almost 4 years, and I know I can't do that. And I also realized all the things I didn't do before, because the whole situation with program has changed, in both NA and AA at this time, and people were getting a real clean time, So I decided to make a run for it, and one of the important things was I had this phone number, because before I realized that this 3 weeks in rehab, I was going to play this game. I've done it before. Go to meetings, and if somebody approaches you and ask if you have a sponsor, yes, I have a sponsor. And they ask, who is it? And I was just to make up some guy's name I know. Yeah, it's Gaukur, he's my sponsor. I was gonna do that because I didn't want to really speak to anyone. I was just going to hide, you know. But it was like, yeah, it was this moment outside of the yellow house with this phone number thing.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Just one addict helping another.
I knew I could call this guy and he would help me. I was kind of, and I did that.
So this was the beginning of a kind of a new life chapter for you.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, soon after that we meet for the first time. We became friends.
Yeah, about 1 year after maybe.
Yeah.
Because, but it was not that simple. I had this, 1 year rehabilitation program with this SOA Viking thing, and I finished that. And I also got into this rehabilitation program in Reykjavik city. You know, they just going somewhere. I wasn't working, just be at some place at 10 o'clock Mondays and Wednesdays, you know, and just sit with a group of guys or girls like me and talk about silly things, and go to a workshop where we would use clay, a lot of burned out addicts playing together and painting it. And I just stayed there also. And I had these 3 things, you know, this 1 year thing in rehabilitation, and I stayed for like 2.5 years in this Reykjavik city stuff, and was doing the 12 steps and service. So it was a lot of things combined together, and I think what I figured out while I was doing this, maybe 1 year later, that I took responsibility, or I didn't figure it out.
When it was happening, but looking back on it.
But when I was thanking my sponsor, but thank you for what you did for me. And he said, I didn't do anything. You just took responsibility for your sobriety. You just came. I asked you to come and read the book with me, and you came, and you did it. I was just here, you know. That's and he told me also, but I should be thanking you. You saved my life. So it was like and I think this guy was just the right guy for me. He was not preaching to me, because I was just waiting to somebody to say, you have to do this and this, you don't do it. I was just saying, fuck you.
I'm going.
I'm
fuck
going.
This shit.
So it was like I think it was a higher power intervention, you know. I feel like it. But it was just a guy doing his program, saving his life, trying to help somebody else.
This is the way it works.
Yeah.
And you've been involved in that for many years now.
Yeah, it's going on 11 years. And it is the first time in clean time sobriety I start to sponsor somebody, going to jails with meetings or rehabilitation stations. I did a lot the first 5 years at least. And I think I just made myself strong to a point that I feel free, you know.
Get that freedom and fulfillment in life somehow.
And I have had, I just 4 weeks ago, I had the operation on my shoulder, and I was put down to sleep, and I had to take drugs afterwards, you know, morphine-based drugs, and I have done that 2 times now, and both times when I woke up and had to take these painkillers, and I feel the tinkling of these drugs, I feel really unpleasant. I feel I was really afraid about what it would do to me, because I used to abuse these drugs. And I felt like really unpleasant about it. Didn't want it, you know. So I just took less than a doctor told me to do, and then just threw it away. And also now 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I was more afraid 3 weeks ago because I haven't been really strong in this meeting and programs for the last 3 years because life gave me so much. And I have a fiancé and stepdaughters and a house and a lot of things I never dreamt of. And I got really busy with my life. So I was not in a really as good place as I would want to be, you know.
But this is also, I think, what many people experience. Just life gets big, life gets busy.
Lot of responsibilities.
You're happy, you're doing good.
You have to work more, and you have to participate in the family thing. And there's less and less time for program and everything. You know, big family life, but there's always this thought, but it slowly fades away. You know, over 3 or 4 year period, it's just fades easily, slowly away. You know, but the thing is, in November last year, it's February now, and I went to this operation 8th of January. A guy called me. I used to stay at meetings with. And he called me, how are you doing? I said, it's okay. And I kind of knew, he has called me now and then. You know, we used to stay at the same group for a long time. And I went to a lot of meetings with him in rehab places and prisons. And we are good friends. And he called me and he knew that I have been away for a period of time because he is in contact with other guys and one of my best friends, and they all know, they're kind of talking, you know, where is he, what is he doing, does he think he's just free from it all, cured. And he calls me and he's also thinking about himself, and he just, how do you think about starting a meeting with me? Me and this one other guy. And I just said straight away yes, because I had been thinking about it a lot. You know how it is. You haven't been going to a meeting for a while and you're just constantly thinking that you're not doing the right thing, you know. And he calls me and we meet up 1 week later, decide how the meeting is going to, rent a place, and then a week later we start the meeting. And I'm the chairman, you know, and the first guy I call to lead the meeting is my sponsor. So at the first meeting we are 4 guys, and I think it was like another intervention, you know, because I'm going to this operation, 1 month later or something, and I have stayed in contact with my sponsor a little bit over the years, and I started calling her, and we decided to speak daily through this process after the operation, you know, to check how are you feeling. I'm a little dosed, you know, just how many tablets do you have left, you know, this just, so I'm not just self, you know.
Yeah.
Because it is strange, you know, to take this medication, you know. You feel a little burst, you don't like it, but you have to. And it was like, yeah, it's like everything is put in place in front of me before I have to do this. I'm thankful for it.
Yeah?
It's strange.
Yeah, life works in mysterious ways,
Yeah.
kind of say. Yeah? Yeah, this has been awesome. And I for one, we've been friends for some years now.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that friendship. It's given me a lot.
Yeah, I can say the same.
But we have had our ups and downs though.
Yeah.
Like everybody in life, I think. And it was funny, you called me up the other day and asked me to come to you with a meeting. And it was kind of like, yeah, okay, this is kind of happening again. And it kind of felt unforced and kind of, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, okay, this is the right time.
Exactly. I know what you mean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.